episode of the Stats on Stats podcast, we are excited to chat with Tennisha Martin, the founder of Black Girls Hack. In August, they will be hosting SquadCon, a 2-day cybersecurity conference in Las Vegas focusing on diversity and inclusion, featuring keynotes, discussion panels, hands-on workshops, and networking opportunities to empower underrepresented groups in the cybersecurity field. Additionally, the Stats on Stats podcast is proud to announce a media partnership with EC Council's Hacker Halted conference. This premier cybersecurity event brings participants to Atlanta, Georgia, from all over the world. They have generously provided us with a promo code. Details can be found in the video description. Okay, let's get started.
Hey, insert banter. Here, Tennisha. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
How's your Monday? Awesome. How's your week going?
So far so good. It's been relatively quiet, but I'm actually stationary this week, so I'm very excited about that. No traveling, so I'm inside.
Right. We forgot life of a jet setter, private jets, all that good stuff.
Look, from your mouth to God's ears, okay?
Right. All right. So do you know what's about to happen before we get into the stuff that people actually come here for?
I heard that it might have something to do with some tunes, some music, some 90s. Is that what's going on right now?
That's what's about to happen. And so
I should have studied.
Right? You
she actually knows.
Yeah, I was going to say you're like one of the few people who comes on here and is like, yeah, I actually do know what's going to happen. Even though, we're not even going to get into it. People who don't look at the one pager. Anyway, so we're going to be playing That's My Jam, 90s R&B edition. Shout out Jimmy Fallon once again. Here are the rules. We are going to play 4 songs. You have until the end of the song to name either the artist or the name of the song. If you can name both, it's a total flex. It's not necessary. Points are going to be the same regardless. But yeah, and you get 3 guesses. Tiff, am I missing anything?
Nope, that is all.
No pressure.
If you get 0, it's okay. Like at this point, it's like 50-50 for people. Where you're like 50% people get some, 50% don't. So you good. All right.
I'm gonna try my hand. Look, it may be embarrassing, but it's fine.
You got it.
They gonna revoke my black card.
No. That's only if you like didn't guess an obvious one like Janet Jackson. Anyways, all right, Anthony, are you ready? Song number 1.
I will never find another lover sweeter than you, sweeter than you. And I will never find another lover more precious than you, more precious than you. Girl, you are close to me, you're like my mother, close to me, you're like my father, close to me, you're like
Anthony
my
knows
sister,
this.
close to me, you're like my brother. You were the only one, my everything, and for you this song I sing.
We can hear you singing, Tiffany.
Yes.
I prayed for someone like you.
Oh my gosh.
And I thank God that I finally found you.
I don't know who the singer is, but is it called All My Life?
It is.
Okay.
All My Life, Casey and JoJo.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, we're off to a strong start. Song number 2.
Don't wanna make a scene.
I don't know this one.
I really don't care if people stare at us. Sometimes I think I'm dreaming.
Tiffany knows it. We can hear you
I
singing.
pinch myself just to see if I'm awake or not. Is it real? What I feel, could it be you and me? Till the end of time. Take my heart, hold it tight, it's true love. I gotta be the one you touch.
Oh,
Baby,
gosh.
I gotta be the one you love.
I feel like the song's called I Gotta Be, but I feel like it's a Jagged Edge. Did I make that up?
Yes! You got both. You got both. You got the name of the song and the name of the artist. Tiffany, I'm going to say it one more time.
Just go to the next song, woman.
We can hear you singing in the microphone.
Go to
okay.
the song.
Yo, she was singing though. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was even embarrassing. It was like, oh, you got to sing, man.
Oh my gosh. All right.
I'm sorry.
So far, 2 for 2. Anthony, song number 3.
Bright lights, fancy restaurants, everything in this world that a man could want.
I don't know this,
Got
but I
a
like
bank
it.
account bigger than the law should allow. Still I'm lonely now. Pretty faces from the covers of the magazines. From their covers to my covers, wanna lay with me.
Anthony, you know this one?
Fame and fortune still can't find. Just a grown man running out of time. Even though it seems I have everything.
Oh, Tennisha know it.
I don't wanna be a lonely fool. All of the women, all the expensive cars, all of the money don't amount to you. So I can make believe I have everything, but I can't pretend that I don't see that without you, girl, my life is incomplete. Say it, without you, girl.
Okay, Kiana, what?
I cannot for the life of me think of the name of this song.
Do you know who it's by?
I do not.
Thong.
Is that your hint?
Yes. Boom, she got it. All right, we got one more. You got this one. This one's easy.
Darling, I can't explain. Where did we lose our way? Girl, it's driving me insane. And I know I just need one more chance to prove my love to you.
Okay.
Boyz II Men, but
Yep.
I'll guarantee that I'll never let you go. Can we go back to the days our love was strong? Can you tell
She got it though.
She did.
yes, Boyz II Men. I can't think of it.
It's okay because the points would have been the same regardless. It's what is
Look,
it?
that's 3 out of 4.
No, it's
Hey.
4 out of 4. You got 4 out of 4.
Okay, I get
It's-
points for the.
Yeah, you just needed one. On Bended Knee by Boyz II Men. So you're good. You got 4 out of 4. Perfect score. All right on. Let's go ahead and get down to business. Get to the reason people are actually here. If it's your first time, welcome. If you already know the vibes, welcome back. I'm Jordan, aka Jay, aka the Chosen One, aka Big Stepper, and I am here with my co-host.
I'm Tiffany B. We're glad you're here for this episode of the Stats on Stats podcast, where we get to talk to leaders in the cyber, IT, technology, all of those spaces. Speaking of those leaders, today we have someone here with us today. We're going to let her introduce herself to you. She's going to tell you where she's from, where she is currently, what she does now, and how long she's been in the space.
Absolutely. My name is Tennisha Martin. I am the executive director and founder of a nonprofit called Black Girls Hack. So we're a nonprofit that provides training for people who are trying to get into technology and cybersecurity. I am originally from Northeast DC, representing Kenilworth area. I currently live in Virginia, Spotsylvania, and I've been in IT for 20 years that I can probably admit to. And in cyberspace, probably like the last 5. It might be more than 20, but then I'd have to admit like how old I really am. So yeah.
You look mad young. Like, honestly, right now, you could say 25.
God bless you. God keep you. Like, I do not claim a day over 30. So like I'm doing it.
Yeah.
My birth certificate is much older, but
Oh, okay.
I am not a day over 30.
Well, yeah, no cap. You do look like mad young, for real.
I love it.
Awesome.
I like it here.
Great. Well, then why don't you just keep talking and tell us about your origin story? How did you get started?
Absolutely. So when I went to school originally, my dad was a programmer. He's still a programmer to this day. And he was like, yeah, you got to go to school and become a programmer. And I was like, I don't care what I'm doing. I'm not going to be a programmer just because he's a programmer. And I'm like oppositional defiant. So whatever he was saying, I was like, yeah, I'm going the exact opposite. So I actually went and I studied electrical computer engineering. And then I found that while I was in school, like I actually liked breaking software more than I liked actually developing it. So like I finished with my degree and did all of that stuff, but like I went into software testing, quality assurance, because I was like, if you can't beat them, you just terrorize them. So I've been trying to terrorize developers for like the last 20 years of my life. It's working well because I actually went from terrorizing them for like software to, terrorizing them for like web apps and, networks and things of that nature, right? So like for me, going from software testing into penetration testing, ethical hacking was like a natural progression. Day to day, like I'm a manager for a Fortune company, but like what I take joy in is basically terrorizing people. That's what I enjoy.
So you're a vampire. That makes sense. That's why you look so young. It's coming together for me now. Okay.
Me and Pharrell and whoever else is on the Vampire Squad. What's that guy's name? From not Love and Basketball. Brown Sugar, Lorenz Tate. I think he's super young too.
Oh yeah, he has looked the same age for the last 40 years.
He has not aged today. So like me, him, Pharrell, Black women everywhere.
I was like, like side note, I actually met Lorenz Tate like some years ago, like probably 20 years ago. How old am I right now? Don't worry about it. Never mind. I met him once. He looked really young. Anyways, so
Sure.
You got into software testing. So how did you, right now you're more cybersecurity centered, right? So what did that look like? Like what made you go, okay, this is cool, but I want to try something different?
I got to the point where I was like an expert in what I was doing. Like I had all of the advanced level certifications for software testing and test management. And I was like, this is super boring because, it's different systems for the most part, but it's like, you're finding the same types of things. You're looking for the same types of things. Nothing's really changing. And it just wasn't challenging me anymore. So I was like, you know what, I want to take these same skills and I want to use them to, break into networks and break into systems and things of that nature, actually do some, real world applications for like, hey, I'm breaking the software, now what? So for me, it was like, this seems interesting. And I was a part of Women's Cyber Jitsu, like smooth 10 plus years at this point. And they had, weekend classes like at University of Maryland and, other things where like some of them were virtual. And it would just be like, this is super interesting to me. Like, and it's a natural extension of, how I work and how I think about things. It brings a challenge that I wasn't getting as a software tester. So I was like, let's go in this area. Like, and my plan at some point is to be, the CISO for a Fortune company. So, I was like, I need to get experience, managing people, which is what I'm doing now. I was a government contractor for, the last probably 18 years or so. And I left so that I could basically join the private sector and, make moves towards that goal of being a CISO. So that's what I'm working on now. It's just, managing a team and, continuing to get more certifications and skills. And I'm also working on my doctorate in artificial intelligence and cybersecurity as well.
So as you started to make that transition, you were into it's pronounced cyber jitsu, right? I'm not mispronouncing that. So you were involved in cyber jitsu. Were there any sort of like training courses outside of that or certifications, or like what did that path sort of look like leading up to your transition?
So I was taking the classes and just, basically, they're like, oh, well, we have a class on reverse engineering this week. And this week we'll have a class on, penetration testing. And this class we have, on this topic. And so I would just take the classes, but it was kind of like disjointed in terms of like what it is that you were learning. And I also started working on like capture the flag competitions. So like learning different, things within the cybersecurity, and then also working on like try hack me and hack the box. But the problem with those is like, they're very much so like, happy path scenarios, right? You know how like if you're a project manager, you're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to do this based off of everything passing and everything working. And then if it doesn't work, then what happens? And I think that, in the real world, having worked as a penetration tester, like you rarely get the happy path, like that you might see in like a try hack me or a hack the box. It's like, hey, what's going on? How do I figure out what the situation is, and how do I figure out like how, I'm going to break into this. So for me, I just started learning things, and then I decided to get more intentional in terms of like, hey, I want to do penetration testing. I want to, this is what I want to do. Because at some point I thought I wanted to do digital forensics. And then, but I have some complicated feelings around like the law enforcement and digital forensics, especially as it relates to people of color. So I was like, yeah, no, I don't want to be perpetuating the system. So I was like, let me take a look at the red team in offensive security space, which is what I've been doing, for the past 4 or 5 years or so.
I think that's the first time we ever actually got a review on like Try Hack Me or Hack the Box. Like an honest review, because usually when people talk about it, they're like, this is the way, do it, this is the way. And I feel like you just gave us a really hot take. So I appreciate that.
No, I'm a big fan of Try Hack Me and Hack the Box in terms of like it teaches you, what it is that you need to learn, right? But the real world is like, if you're setting up a VM on your home machine, or if you're doing some of these activities in your home lab, I think part of the struggle is the installation. Part of it is, trying to figure out, why isn't this worse? What's this cryptic error message mean? How do I fix this? Having to go down a rabbit hole on Stack Overflow or whatever else is out there. I think that that's part of the experience that you need to be successful in the space, right? If you can't troubleshoot, if you can't like get things done when it's not the happy path, I think there's going to be a problem. And I think that the problem with those types of things is that it sets it up for you all nice and pretty and puts a bow on it, right? And it delivers it to you. And you're like, hey, in a happy path situation, I can do this. But the reality is like, how often are you going to get to a corporate network that looks like, something that's nicely set up on Try Hack Me, or, a tool that you've never seen before? It's like, where did this come from and why am I doing this, right? And if you don't understand, the why, if you're just walking through step by step, which is what they have you doing, it's easy to kind of miss like how it ties into the overall purpose and the overall goal of the learning experience, right? So like, I think it's a great hands-on activity that supplements your education, but I think that, as a whole, part of it needs to be gotten from like the gutter. You need to have some struggle and some adversity if you're going to really understand. If you can't like, get your way around a Linux system, without them telling you what the commands are, then you might have some problems, So I think it's important that you have a strong foundation.
Is a part of you seeing that struggle when you were working with Try Hack Me and those types of tools a part of the reason that you started maybe the Black Girls Hack, so that you can kind of give that training and mentorship to people?
Absolutely. I wasn't getting the answers that I needed. And I mean, I think at the same time, I was like, if I'm having all of these issues in terms of figuring out like what's the best way, when so many different resources are out here, so many books, so many trainings, so many different people who are coming at you. It's like walking down like a little fair or something like that, or like a farmer's market or something like that. And you've got people like, hey, all of these folks have got like apples. Which apples do I want? Having all of that pressure, I think is unnecessary. It's like, how do you focus your efforts and get more effective in terms of your education? I think that's part of the reason why I went into this. And that's also the reason why I'm working on my doctorate in cybersecurity education, is because like I'm very much so interested in, one, how do we see more people of color that are in the space, but then two, how do we get more intentional about training people in a way that gets them what it is that they need, right? I'm absolutely not a fan of like the boot camps that are charging you an arm and a leg and 10% of your future income for you to get into whatever, or things that have like very high financial cost to entry, right? And so part of what I wanted to do when I started BGH was, hey, here's some humble bundles that are, because when I went to school like many decades ago at this point, Amazon was a bookseller, and like when you had a textbook for school, it was like $300 for each class. And if you're taking, like 4 or 5 classes, it's like, this is a whole problem. And, why is this not in the financial aid package? So, when I started finding out about like humble bundles, and it's like, what, you get like 10, 15 books for like $20? What? Like, what life is this? But, not everybody, reads books. But for me, that's my preferred form of learning. Like, I much prefer to read something as opposed to watching videos. It's just the way that I retain information. So like for me, getting the books and being able to get into them is much more valuable. But like, hey, how do we get people the skills that they need without them having to break the bank or have like very, very high costs of like student loans or, debt because of it?
So you started Black Girls Hack, and I feel like you have like this strong just passion for helping people and being able to give them mentorship and community. So how do you feel that plays a role in helping underrepresented people to be successful in cybersecurity?
For the longest time, like I figured that the way for me to, take over the world, because I've been talking about taking over the world for, forever at this point, was for me to out educate, out certify, out all of the things for all of the people, right? So like, if you look at like my resume, it's like, why is she so extra? Why does she need so many certifications? Why does she need so many degrees? Like all of the things. And, as a Black woman, I was always told that you have to be twice as good as everybody else, right? So, I didn't want anybody to be like, hey, she doesn't deserve to be in the places that she's being, that she's in. I decided like, hey, I don't need nobody. I can do this by myself. I'm just going to out to all of the things. And what I found is that was like 100% the absolute wrong way to go about it. I think way too often people operate in a silo and feel like they have to go about doing something themselves. So despite the fact that like, I'm not a big fan of people and humans as a whole, I want to help people. It's just in my nature. If I wasn't in technology, I said I was going to go to medical school at some point. I actually did pre-med for a couple of years after I finished my first master's degree. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go to medical school. And I applied and I didn't get in. And I was like, if my backup plan, if I didn't get into medical school, was to go and join the real world. So I had to go join the real world to get a job. And, the rest is history at this point. But, I wanted to be able to try to help people. And I was like, hey, what if they can actually learn from my experience? What if they don't have to go through the same troubles? Because, so many of the issues that we face, I think, especially as Black women, are just from us operating in isolation, from, not knowing what salary you should be asking for, or, not knowing like what level you should be going in. When I first joined the workforce, I was like, I don't care what they call me as long as the check clears. So obviously my opinion of that has changed over the years because one, your title actually does matter because it influences, what future titles you can get. What also matters is, what level or how much they're paying you, just because it's a lot of money for me. My first job out of school, I was making $55,000 a year, but there was somebody who went and got her master's from the same place I got my master's from. Similar background as far undergrad, and she got a job at the same exact place I was, a level higher, making $20,000 more than I was, right? And that was only because I didn't know my value. They're like, hey, we want to offer you 50,000. I think it was 50,000. And I was like, well, hey, could you make it 55? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, yo, I'm balling. I thought I was doing something. The first thing I did was went out and bought a Chrysler 300C at the time, which had like a $700 or $800 car note. Whole like problem. And this was like smooth decades ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, so this should tell you the level of stupidity that, that I was on at the time. But like, I think that that's a problem that a lot of people face because it's like, how do I know how much I should be asking for? How do I know how much this job is worth? How do I know what my value is when there's no, contextual understanding for this in my space, right? Because if all of the people that have never, lived in a world where everybody makes six figures or more, they're like, oh, you better take that six figures and shut up, or you better take that 90,000 and shut up, But the reality is that might not be the market rate for, somebody with your skill set. And I think that a lot of times these conversations are not being held, because, especially within the Black community, because, folks are like, oh, you keep your salary secret. Why? Mm-hmm. Why are we keeping it secret? Mm-hmm. Why aren't we having a conversation? That to me is saying like, hey, there's something to hide. If you have to feel like you have to keep it secret. And you'll see, a lot of companies where it'll be, hey, my male counterparts are making $20,000, $30,000 more than me, or my, and that's a problem. And how do we fix that problem? We're not going to trust that the companies are going to be transparent and they're going to hire folks and pay them as they should be. You're going to, have conversations and talk to your mentors, talk to your sponsors, talk to your allies, figure out, what your value is so that you can go into negotiations with an understanding of what your value is worth.
I would actually argue, because like, these are you making so many good points. I'm like, we could do like a spinoff of just you, to be honest. But like, I would argue that salary alone is a reason to join a peer group, right? Because when you're at work, like nobody's trying to tell you like, hey, I make this much, how much, like nobody's trying to have that conversation. Not really. Right. And so this is why it's important to have like-minded people around you in similar career fields in different groups that you can talk to. Be like, hey, this is my role. Like based on your experience, what have you seen? Right. Because you can be a little bit more free a little bit more open in those kinds of conversations. But I know, like, for me, for instance, at work, I would never have that conversation with somebody. I would never be like, oh yeah, I make this much. Like, but I would have that conversation with you, right? Over coffee, you know? So I'm just saying, like, that alone to me is a reason to join a peer group. If you right now are like, I don't know, I'm not necessarily interested in training. I'm not necessarily interested in this and this. That alone is a reason to join like a group like this. So just
Absolutely. I think it's important to have a network in whatever it is that you're trying to do. I strongly believe that, you know, the people that surround you are a good predictor of how you're going to do in the future. Like, so I surround myself with absolutely amazing people. You know, the few people that are in my circle, they're there because they add value both to my life and then, like, you know, also to what it is that I'm trying to do, you know, and I think that that's important. But, you know, a lot of times there's this narrative that, you know, Black women are catty, or that, you know, we can't, you know, work together, or we can't, you know, collaborate and do things because it's competition. And, you know, and really, I think that, you know, most people are only competing with themselves, you know, and if you're competing with yourself and you're still losing, my husband actually said this to me last night. He was like, if you're competing with yourself and you're still coming to second place, then you're the problem. You know what I'm saying? It's not anybody else.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's really important that you have people that are going to push you towards greatness, give you ideas, help you figure out, you know, how you can lead a better life, a more productive life, and don't let you get complacent. Because, you know, my last job, I was there for, you know, I think like 9 years, and it was like, I'm comfortable, I'm collecting checks, the money's nice or whatever, but I wasn't growing, I wasn't elevating my life, I wasn't doing any of the things. And, you know, if one of my friends hadn't said, you know, hey, why don't you stop, you know, sitting on your behind and doing nothing and get up and do something, you know, and that was part of what drove me to start Black Girls Hack. I was like, hey, if I'm going to get up and do something, I'm going to do it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to half do it. I'm going to go out here and do the thing, you know? So for me, I think one of the biggest lessons learned is, you know, stop trying to do it by yourself. Find people who are going along the same path as you. You can find a lot of people. That doesn't even need to be that y'all need to be like best friends and, you know, like, hey, I want to talk to you every moment or every day. But like, find people who understand what it is that you're trying to do, understand the complexity, and can, you know, push you towards achieving, you know, greatness, that you can bounce ideas off of, you know, because a lot of my day one friends are not technical people, you know, so I can't go to them and talk to them about reverse shells or, you know, backdoors, or, you know, I can't talk to them about things of that nature. We'll talk about widgets, like, yo, life is crazy, but, you know, that's the most, you know, like, sorry friend, like, I know that sucks for you, but like actually being able to call people and being like, you know, hey, this is what I'm going through, this is what I'm dealing with, you know, this is what I'm running up against, and they can give you ideas and help collaborate. I think that that's super important for growth and just getting a diverse understanding of, you know, the environment and being successful.
Facts. I agree.
I want to give you a couple minutes to talk about, like, I know about Black Girls Hack and what it offers as a part of that community. But would you like to talk to what the community does and offers just in the group?
Absolutely. Well, first, the first misconception is that because it's called Black Girls Hack, that only Black girls can join it. The organization is actually open to anyone and everyone. The only qualifier is that you cannot be a jerk. That's the only hard line that I have. We provide training, resources, study groups, mentoring, resume reviews, mock interviews, LinkedIn reviews, you know, basically hands-on workshops. We do, I think they're like maybe 4 days a week. And sometimes we'll be up to 7 days a week. So people can just basically drop in and get some hands-on skills. We do a number of representation like workshops. So what does it mean to be a hacker? What does it mean to be a threat hunter? What does it mean to be all of the things? So like we'll do like a day in a life. It's called Bring a Hacker to Work Day. We have a podcast. It's called the Cyber Things Podcast. And we basically have people who are, you know, hackers in various senses of the word come and talk about what it is that they do and what their experience is. But our goal is to basically increase the number of diverse candidates in the pipeline for employment. So we want to help them to be able to get jobs. So we partner with a lot of amazing companies. We've got partnered with like AWS and Google and Microsoft to bring our cloud security training program. We've got 2 of those that are underway. We've got a red team training program, which is from 0 to OSCP. So we partner with some amazing companies to get some of that training done. And we also have an AI training program, and we have a GRC and blue teams that are all underway because we want to, as much as possible, prepare the next generation of cybersecurity professionals for careers in the workforce. So, we want to basically be a one-stop shop for training needs for people who are trying. And we do it in a low cost environment. So, the most that somebody will pay for one of our programs is maybe $250, which is just the cost of, hey, you have some skin in the game. And we used to up until this year, everything we had offered has been free. But we started charging because people would start the programs and then they'll be like, hey, I want to go do basket weaving this week. Now I don't want to do this anymore. And just drop out. And it's like, yo, like we're investing in your future. And, all we ask of you is that you do the program, complete it, do the surveys or whatever, so that we can constantly improve the programs. And, people are not taking that seriously. So we started charging a nominal fee to get people to at least have some skin in the game, as we're going through the programs. But, they actually did what they are supposed to do. They can get, 6 or 7 certifications and associated trainings for free. Programs tend to last anywhere between a year to 18 months for them to go from, because most of our folks are career changers. So they might have been like teachers or nurses or whatever. And they're like, hey, I want to get into tech. I want to get into cybersecurity. Most of our programs are focused on career changers. So we assume that they're coming from 0 to, whatever their target goal is.
That's dope.
Oh, and we have a cybersecurity conference, which is in Las Vegas during Hacker Summer Camp called SquadCon. All of our speakers are, for the most part, I think last year was like maybe 80% of our speakers were underrepresented communities. So women, LGBTQ, TIA plus, minorities. But we had a lot of women researchers, talking about their work, which I absolutely love for us. So we're trying to reimagine what cybersecurity conferences look like, especially if they were to include diverse topics and diverse people as well.
I was like yesterday years old and I found out like all that stuff happening in Vegas is called like summer camp.
Yeah, yes. I was actually telling somebody the other day, I was like, hey, I was like, are you coming to Hacker Summer Camp? And the guy's like, yeah, no, I'm not a hacker, I'm an entrepreneur. And I'm like, you don't have to be a hacker. I'm like, it's just a collection of cybersecurity conferences, but it's a good time. Like I think it's a valuable, if nothing else, for the networking possibilities. I think it's important for folks to be able to go. It's super expensive, if you go to Hacker Summer Camp, like, some of the conference tickets are, thousands of dollars, for example, hundreds if not thousands of dollars, depending on which one you go to. So, we of course provide all those tickets for the folks for free for people who are trying to go. And we have scholarships for people who, can't afford to fly out to Las Vegas as well. Because again, we're trying to get more people into the industry and we're trying to reduce the costs associated with it. So, the only thing you have to spend is your time and the energy for you to actually study and do the things and, make things happen for yourself.
Wow. That's incredible. That's huge. Like seriously. Wow. That's all I can say. I'm sorry. That's crazy.
SquadCon is pretty new, right? I think it's 2, 3.
Yeah, this is our second year of SquadCon. The year before that, we did Girls Hack Village. That was our first year, and that was within DEF CON. But now we have our standalone conference. So this is year 2 of SquadCon. So we're super excited about it. We did some amazing things last year. We're going to do it bigger this year. Our theme is play to win. So we're not playing. We're like the WNBA out here. Like, we're here and we've got something to say. So.
Oh, yeah. What, you have any exciting new features or surprises for the 2024? Like, is Alicia Keys going to come out onto the stage?
No, I wish. We are still a nonprofit, so we're working on a nonprofit budget. Like, we couldn't afford her hairstylist. But, we've got some dope people within the cybersecurity space who are donating their time. We're going to actually start announcing those folks in the near future. But, I think it's going to be some big things that are going on once we start announcing those names.
Can you share any key experiences or challenges? Because as a woman of color, you were starting SquadCon by yourself. No one had heard of it. And so I'm sure you probably ran into maybe some challenges or some experiences that you could talk about from your time trying to start up SquadCon.
Yeah, so we had actually talked about starting a conference a couple of years ago when we first went to Hacker Summer Camp the first year. I'm like, yeah, we're going to do our own village next year. And people thought I was playing, and I was like, "Nah, we're going to do our own village next year." And we had our own village. We had Girls Hack Village that we brought to DEF CON, and that was in 2022. And that was absolutely amazing. And we had actually planned on going back to DEF CON again last year, but our village didn't get accepted. They said that the things that we did, there were other villages that did the same types of hacking things, so they didn't need a girls' village to do those things. So we're like, okay, screw that. We're going to start our own village. You know what I'm saying? We're going to start our own conference. We don't need that. So we basically, I think it was like maybe 3 months left till Vegas, we were like, hey, we're going to stand up our own. So we had to find a venue. We got funding. We raised like $200,000 to be able to host our own conference last year, because Vegas is expensive. Like they want $100 for a dozen cookies. Like that's the kind of foolishness. I'm not lying. Like the actual factual numbers, that's the kind of foolishness they want. They're like, yeah, a cupcake is $100 for a dozen. Also, like whatever it is you want, it's just expect to pay $100 for 12 of them. And it's not even like they have like big cookies. It's like a regular like they pull out some Chips Ahoy and they're like, hey, here's 12 of them and it's gonna be $100. And I'm like, what?
She said they pull out church crackers. They pull out church crackers and grape juice.
Right? And they're like, yeah, and we don't accept no outside food. Because I was like, yeah, well, I'm from Northeast DC. I was like, I can go to Costco. We can, you know what I'm saying? Like, we can make this happen on hope and a dream. Like, I've been through some things. But they're like, yeah, no outside food. And if you do bring outside food, it's like $5 per person. In addition to you bring in the outside food or whatever. And I'm like, what? No. Like, I'm like, we're not nonprofit, you know what I'm saying? That means the making money. But yeah, so we just basically got the fundraise, and I joked with my team. I was like, I got to go outside, put my thigh out. But that was the vibe, for me to basically collect some money. I was like, so I was like, we got to get this done. So I was like, hey, Microsoft, what's up? They were like, yeah, we're with it. I'm like, Amazon, hi guys. They're like, count us in. Adobe, we've had some amazing folks that have sponsored us last year that are also continuing to sponsor us this year. So it works. I have an amazing supportive group of people who support me and what it is that I'm trying to do. And, I found that, again, stepping out of my comfort zone, like if you ask for help, people will give you help. They'll assist you. I think one of the hardest things for, especially a Black woman, especially for me, is saying, hey, I need some help. I can't do all of the things by myself. So I think that's probably been a challenge, but that's how we made it happen. I literally was like, hey, all of these companies sending emails, like, some people were ghosting. Some people were like, hey, we'd love to be able to support. Some people were like, hey, we'd love to be able to support. Then they ghosted. It was a whole thing, but we got it done, and we did it again this year. So I'm super proud of my team. They're doing amazing work, which is crazy because, when I started, it was just me. I was teaching all of the classes like myself on YouTube or Twitch or wherever. And like now we've got a whole team of people that help us to do all of the things. So there are a lot of people who I think that the work that we're doing is important and that are supportive and trying to help to make it successful, which I appreciate.
Did that experience and those challenges change like your perspective or your views on the true need for diversity in cybersecurity or in our fields?
It absolutely did, because, like I said, it was hard for me to accept the fact that, I can't do all of the things myself. So having to reach out and say, hey, I need help. This is what I'm trying to do has been a challenge for me because, it's not in my nature to be like, hey, I need something. You know what I'm saying? Like I would rather go without than have to ask somebody for something. And so I think for me, it's just reinforcing the need for, having a network. But what I found is that if you actually do trust people that, they'll surprise you. Some of them will, some of them are still trash. But, folks have surprised me because, I, for the longest time, had like my circle of basically 4 friends. And I was like, hashtag no new friends. You know what I'm saying? Like, I will quote nothing else from Drake other than hashtag no new friends, But at some point it was like, I found myself putting more people in my circle and expanding it a little bit. So now I've got folks like our COO and our CISO who are like, personal friends of mine now, in addition to the fact that I work with them. But they are, like I said, when I talk about me expanding my circle and coming to trust people and rely on them, I think that that's important, not just if you're trying to run a nonprofit, but whatever it is that you're trying to do. I think it's important to have people that you can, not just converse with, but, that you can rely on if given the opportunity.
So I do actually have a question, but I know you mentioned that you have a podcast, right, for Black Girls Hack, but you also have another podcast, right?
I do. I am do AI things online, AI thoughts online podcast. So as I started working on my research, I was like, I'm learning all of these things about artificial intelligence as it relates to offensive security. I was like, why not just talk about it? Because I'm working on my dissertation, and I was like, if I'm going to spend the next 2 years working on a freaking paper and trying to flush out my thoughts on things, I was like, I'll start talking to people about them, which is amazing because it's allowed me to talk to some pretty dope people. I actually gave a talk at Secure World conference last week on offensive AI. So it's my research, basically the use of like large language models with building offensive security tools to help train people who are trying to get into cybersecurity in the future. So I'm trying to figure out the efficacy of that and how that works, because ideally I'd like to, get it to the point where we're efficient in terms of figuring out how people learn and what's the best way to do that. Because if you go to school, a lot of the schools are not up to speed with the industry. Education system tends to be, 3-4 years
Yep.
behind, which may not seem like a lot, but the reality is after you spend 4 years learning basically what ends up being outdated technologies, outdating tools, outdating, all of the things, the world is continuing to move while you're learning in a static environment. And I think it's important that, people stay up to date on what it is that needs to be done, especially if you're working in the technology and cybersecurity fields, because this is not one of those fields where it's like, hey, accounting, the numbers stay the same, the money you make, the expenses, all of those things, it's basically consistent throughout time. But cybersecurity and technology are not those things that are just like, hey, once I learn it, it never changes.
I feel like the people who come on this show are not making a good case for people going to college. Like, y'all making it real hard to justify.
I have I tell folks all the time. I have my bachelor's degree. I've got 5 master's degrees, and I'm currently working on a doctorate. So my family likes to joke, but like everybody in my family has like ridiculous amount of degrees and training and certifications and all of that. But we were all raised the same ways in terms of, you have to be twice as better as everybody else. You know what I'm saying? So like
Yeah,
I come
facts.
from a very long line of overachievers. So, I if I had it all to do over again, I 100% would not have all of these. My job that I worked at for like a million years, they had I think it was like $12,000 a year for tuition reimbursement. And I used that joker every year that I was there. And I was there for I think 9 years. So I use that which is why, I have so many, but also it was me just trying to not getting what I needed from the previous program. Like, hey, I'm trying to get hands-on skills. I'm trying to get, like trying to learn and grow. And it wasn't giving me what it is that I need. They very much so focus on theory and not so much practice. When you graduate from a cybersecurity degree or a computer science degree, they want you to have hands-on skills, hands-on keyboard skills, right? If they're not teaching you that in schools, they're talking about confidentiality, integrity, and availability, what I'm saying, and not actually mentioning Cali at any point. Like there was no mention in my entire cybersecurity master's degree of a Cali or, what I'm saying, like different tools. There's no hands-on, what I'm saying, there was none of that. And that was a problem because, when you're talking to employers and you get out of work, they want you to basically have those hands-on skills. So without that, how do you go from, hey, I just finished school to now I want to get a job, and you don't have what it is, you weren't taught what they need you to have in order for you to start working. It puts us at a disadvantage.
What is something that you're like, it would have been beneficial for you to have known earlier in your career when you started in cybersecurity?
I think it would be that I need other people, that I actually need a network. I probably should have actually spoken to like my classmates outside of like the basketball court.
Do you play basketball?
I did. I
You
did.
did?
I actually got a scholarship to go play basketball in college, but I was like, nah, I'm gonna go and ended up doing ROTC. But like I had a scholarship to Cornell to go play basketball.
Let's go see the Aces when we get to Vegas. Okay, go ahead.
Hey,
Let's
I'm
go.
here for it.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw, but Mary was like Mary Galloway is one of their honorary coaches. So she was actually at the game when they first there. So they actually had her up on the Jumbotron,
What?
and she was there representing from Women's Cyber Jitsu. So like she's low-key famous now, and I need her autograph. But yeah, she's one of our co-authors for the Black Women in Cyber Collective book.
That's dope. I'm sorry. I always get us off track, but I'm just saying, Aces. Go ahead.
So I'm here for it.
All right, next question. Oh, these are core questions. Next question. What do you do to prevent burnout?
Trash TV is what I do to prevent burnout. When I'm having an overwhelmingly stressful day, I will go and watch Bridgerton, all of the first responder shows, 911, everything Chicago, all of these things. Like I'm 100% here for. Actually, at some point while I was I had surgery and while I was recovering, I watched it's like a 300 episode telenovela that's in Spanish. And I was like, yeah, I'm about to watch this, but it has subtitles. Like I'm not fluent in Spanish, but I feel like I could be after I think I've got like 20 more episodes left out of the 300. But yeah, like trash TV is my but I feel bad because if Netflix actually told us how many hours we spend watching, bad TV, then that would probably be a motivation for me to start studying and actually do you know how many certifications you could have had if you were not sitting here binge watching freaking seasons and seasons of TV shows? But yeah, that's how I
I'm sorry, I gotta see. Are we connected on the socials?
Oh my gosh. On the way here, you would have thought we were listening to a podcast, but I feel like there was Bridgerton playing.
It was Bridgerton.
Okay.
I had to refresh season 2 so I could get to season 3.
Look, I am a big fan. If Shonda Rhimes were gonna have a fan club, I would 100% volunteer to, because I'm telling you, there's no one who creates absolutely drama like she does. You know what I'm saying? Inventing Anna, Bridgerton, How to Get Away with Murder, all of those things. As soon as you start liking somebody, it's ooh, why they dead?
Right. Did you watch Station 19?
I do. I love it.
I'm gonna tell you this. I didn't know. Wait, you might know this. You probably know. I didn't know it was ending.
Oh, I didn't know it's ending. I did not know it was ending.
It's over. Oh, sorry. Well, surprise.
So whenever the last episode I saw, the lady was she was yeah, I'm about to move, and her best friend is all heartbroken, and I'm all heartbroken, and but I'm not caught up because I gotta wait for it to come on.
So you don't have commercials.
Hulu.
You don't have commercials either. So that's why you didn't know. Okay, see, we're the same person, kinda. Because I didn't know because I don't have commercials. Anyways, okay, get back on track.
I don't have commercials either. We don't actually have TV. We just have all of the streaming things. So right.
If
I have to watch a commercial, actually the only time I watch commercials is on YouTube, and that's because I don't want to pay them for premium. But
Anthony's nodding in solidarity.
The same.
All right, Tiffany, get us back before we lose time. Steer us back.
All right, Tennisha.
Hi. I feel like I'm in trouble.
No, it's my fault. I get us all off track, and then I'm like, okay, Tiffany, fix it.
What's next? We got SquadCon coming up. What else?
SquadCon's coming up. World Domination. We have our second cohort of our teens program, so 9th through 12th graders. Because again, we're trying to develop a whole pipeline from K through World Domination. So working on that, working on my doctorate, and I'm also working on another my second book. It's going to be a technical book, so there'll be some more information about that. But it's going to be around the same type of topics, like AI related topics and cybersecurity. But yeah. That's what's next. World domination, trying to take over the world.
Fire. So I have to give you my scenario question before we come up on time. All right, so here's the situation. It is 2045. You are standing in a high school cafeteria, which is actually a Chick-fil-A at this point. Kid walks up to you, goes, hey, Miss Tennisha, I want to be just like you. What advice do you have for me?
2045. In 2045, they will 100% have individualized instruction for students. At that point, they will have AI teachers that basically teach them whatever it is that they need based on their own lack of understanding in whatever area. I would say make sure that you network with people, learn the foundations. They're super important. And I think that that'll even be more important because at some point, as we start having technology like machine learning and AI start taking over a lot of the things that we're doing, it'll change the way that people interact with the workforce. Entry level is not going to be entry level anymore. It's going to be everything that's entry level is taken over by AI, and everything above that is taken over by people. So it's make sure that you understand the foundations and how it fits into whatever it is that you're trying to do. And, use your network, talk to people, let them know what you're trying to do, because I think that regardless of what's going on, talking to people and working with them to get things done is going to be important.
Awesome. That's fire. That's good advice.
You have anything else that you'd like to say before we start closing out, Miss Tennisha?
No, but I'm thankful for you guys for having me. I appreciate you guys coming up. I love the songs to break the ice. You guys are absolutely amazing. So I appreciate you guys for having me.
Oh, no. Well, thank you.
Yeah,
like,
thank
seriously, endless gratitude. We know you're super busy, so we do appreciate your time. You know, we know time is currency. We hope you feel yours is well spent. So, yeah. Tiffany, you ready to close us out?
Thank you for being a part of the Stats on Stats podcast. To our listeners, thank you for being a part of this as well. Miss Tennisha, how can people get in contact with you?
I am on socials. So LinkedIn, Mrs. Tennisha, MRSTENNISHA on Instagram, and MISS Tennisha on X or Twitter, or whatever it's calling itself these days. But I'm outside, and then also on Black Girls Hack on all of the social sites as well.
Awesome. I guess we'll see you next time.